Hello, everybody.
Howdy, we're early.
We're early, and there's only two of us. Sydney is under the weather.
Or avoiding.
Yeah, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. She's a good sport, so we'll have to walk the plank for Sydney. I'll be honest, I didn't watch any of the Arkansas games,
I
so
didn't either.
I'm just gonna probably make jokes about BYU and see. I can't really say anything because Arkansas basically did the inverse of what we did, right? Like they went to Provo and beat BYU last year, while Utah came to the swamp and lost. And this year we just kind of swap places. Like Utah
Yeah.
beat Arkansas in Fayetteville. But I think it's safe to say KJ Jefferson's not the best quarterback in the SEC.
Anyone could have told you that.
That would
I'm
be
not an Arkansas fan. No,
yes.
no. Connor has something to say.
Mm, got a loss to Miami. I know that much.
Connor did not lose to Miami. The defense lost to Miami.
I,
You
I'm
just
still
heard
shocked that they managed to score 48 points on y'all after gifting you two touchdowns. Like that game could have been like 63-21 or something.
Yeah. Isn't it great?
Lucky us, right?
Isn't it great? I just love Miami.
Oh, bless your
I'm
heart.
cautiously optimistic leader of the Aggie cult. Cautiously optimistic.
Hey, like I said, 11-1 still on the table.
I believe it. Except for LSU, I don't. I'm worried.
Man,
LSU,
we all picked Arkansas to beat BYU too.
yeah. Can we talk about Missouri for a second?
Hey, the fighting Elias.
Like, I'm here for it.
I'm not. I don't like Missouri.
I told mom, okay, so we were sitting at the ULM game, and I said, "Oh, Missouri won on a 61-yard field goal," and she goes, "Oh, that's cool." And then not 5 minutes later, did you know Missouri won? Did I not speak? Did I not? Okay, okay. And she'll be so mad for me putting her on blast, but like, yeah,
Just saying, one of us did pick Missouri to win, though.
proud of
Oh,
you.
me and you picked Missouri. I didn't see yours. Yeah, me and you picked Missouri. Look at us.
Yay!
Look at us. We made it.
I'm so proud of Missouri. South Carolina held their own for a minute.
Yeah, I mean that.
I didn't watch the game, so I
As a Florida fan coming off of a win over Tennessee, 29-16.
you
By
beat
the way,
you
Tennessee
beat
fans.
Tennessee.
Oh, I don't know if you heard, but Florida and Tennessee played this past Saturday, and despite what every Tennessee fan may have told you, they did not come into the swamp and leave with a dub.
Oh,
Um,
I forgot to ask Matt to be here, so
Convenient. Matt and Sydney got to dodge the the walk and the plank. I mean, Matt was very enthusiastic last year.
he always is.
I wish that we got to get him on so that we can get some of that enthusiasm on camera because something tells me that now that Hendon Hooker's gone, his enthusiasm is going to be back to like Jarrett Guarantano, Adrian Martinez levels. Like,
Yikes.
yikes is correct.
Okay, so Mississippi State had no hope ever.
Mm. They got drubbed.
Like, I don't know. Okay, here's the question. Would you rather lose in the fourth quarter or would you rather lose like that if you're going to lose?
So that I think about that all the time. My wife asks me that all the time too. She's just like, "Oh, would you rather just get blown out or lose in the fourth quarter?" And I'm like, "Man, it's two different types of pain."
It is.
It's like, would you rather stub your toe or bump your elbow? It's like either way you're gonna hurt, but like I do feel like when you get blown out, it at least gives you that like
We just won
halftime.
today.
Like at halftime, you're like, I'm gonna go do something else now. Like, if I'm being honest with you, I don't know. I know Georgia kind of they beat us by like 20 something points last year. But that game was definitely at the point that um, I was close to just be like, you know what? If they go up 28-3, I'm probably just gonna go ahead and go play video games or something else. And then like we got a touchdown, and it made it like 28-10 or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but we made it a little interesting. And then I was like, oh, I'm back, never left. I'm right here, boys. And then we cut it. It was like 28-20 at one point, and I was like, "Oh shit, are we doing this?" And then Georgia turned on the Jets and like ended
And
up
you're
blowing
like,
us
no, we're
out.
not doing this.
Mm-mm. But so that sucked me in, right? Like that sucked me back in. So that was kind of like the worst, to where it's like it's not a true blowout. It's close enough to keep you into it. I honestly don't know the last time I stopped watching a game. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even if we're getting, we haven't really been blown out too badly. Like, I guess maybe the SEC championship game against Alabama in like 2015, it was like 52-14 or something. Like, I think that was probably the last game I was like, you know what, this one's not going to happen, and just left. I would probably say getting blown out, honestly. Losing in the fourth quarter, like especially on like a field goal or something.
Oh God, you've been there.
Yeah, I have been there. Yeah, and you're just sitting there, and you're like, is he going to make it? Is he going to miss it? College kickers, you never know. It's not like the pros. The pros, when pro comes out for a 48-yard field goal, you're like, well, this game's over. College kicker comes out for a 38-yard field goal, and you're like, I don't know. Unless it's fucking Missouri's kicker, I guess.
Thicker the kicker.
Thicker the kicker. So what's better? What's better? The thicker kicker or thicker the kicker? Or Michael Dicker football kicker?
I can't stand Dicker the kicker.
Yeah, I knew you weren't going to like that one.
Not a fan of Dicker the kicker.
So are you a fan of Texas being back?
Yes, because I know they're gonna and it's gonna be glorious when it happens.
Who's more back, Texas or Colorado?
Colorado can't be back because I can't remember a time that they were there.
They had a 10-win season a couple of years ago. And see, this is what kills me. Okay, so I get Colorado sucked last year, right?
And the year before that.
They've been bad, but I get it. I'm a Gator fan. I do not like Dion. He's a Seminole. Like, just don't like Dion. But like Northwestern was 1-11. Like Stanford's been 1-11. Washington and Washington State have been 1-11, 0-12. Like, when I heard the commentator say that Colorado beating Colorado State as 23.5-point favorites in double overtime was a statement win. Like, that has stuck with me so bad, Shelby. Like, why can't we just be happy for them to turn things around, right? Like, why do they have to be talked about like the best team in the country
when they're not
beating Colorado State? Colorado State hasn't beaten Colorado since 2014. Even when Colorado's been bad, they still beat Colorado State. But this year, it's like, now this really sends a statement. What? How? They almost lost the game. How is that a statement? They were 3.5 touchdown favorites, and they almost lost, and it's a state. That's my old man yells at cloud moment of the stream. On to the next one. Like that in particular stuck out to me, where I'm just like, man, they are really selling this Dion hype. Like,
okay, here's the question for you. You ready? This has gone around on Twitter, and I had to ask you. The question is, how loyal are you and to your team, and what game did you watch in its entirety, or were you at in its entirety, to show how loyal you are to your team?
Like in terms of getting our ass kicked and still watching it. The 27-2 game against FSU. I think it was 2017.
The 2017 UCLA blowout, or blowing it. I watched all of that. I watched all of the 49-0 Alabama game the year after Johnny graduated. Um, what the App State game?
I remember I was at a yard sale with my mom. She was running a yard sale in the front of my nana's front yard when we lost to Georgia Southern. Like I remember just being like, "Ah, man, I want to watch football. I don't want to be at this stupid yard sale. Oh well, it's Georgia Southern. It's who cares?" And then I'm like looking at my phone, and it's like tie game, fourth quarter. I'm like, what the fuck? How are what? And then I get back home and like I see we lose, and I'm like, they didn't complete a pass against us. They they rushed for 400 yards on us, didn't complete a pass, and beat us in the swamp. Man, that was one of the most surreal moments of my life where I was like, man, like I was born the same year Steve Spurrier took over at Florida. So like I don't really have great examples of this, right? Like, I mean, not to sound like a pampered Florida fan. We've had bad losses or whatever, but in my lifetime, we've been pretty good to very good, right? So, like, I don't have a lot of it's been a rough 15 years. Like, don't get me wrong, but even in our 15 years, we still have won our division. We still have 10 win seasons. Like, one of the games in 2013 or 2017 would probably be the pain points for me. The LSU game in 2020, like that one's still pretty raw. Like the Texas A&M game in 2020 was rough. Like, but at least those were close games, right? Like the LSU game was definitely way worse because A&M was actually good.
True.
LSU sucked and we lost, and I'm just on the stupidest way I'm at. It's kind of like Utah this year. Like, how the fuck you got two people with the same number on the field? Really, you gave up a touchdown essentially because you had two players with the same number on the field.
This lady
How?
at the ULM game, she was sitting behind us, and the ULM got a penalty for just that. And she goes, "I don't understand why it matters," and I'm like, "Because you can't." Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You do you.
Kansas State on the game winning. See, this is what always happens to Florida, right? This is proof of the anti-Gator bias that exists in the media. Florida will do something that maybe isn't particularly common, but if you pay close attention, it actually happens pretty frequently. But Florida, for whatever reason, will be the first one to do it, right? So, like the shoe toss, for example, in that same, I think it was like it was a BYU game, maybe BYU versus Air Force or something. And literally one of their players picked up a guy's shoe, threw it down the field, didn't get a penalty for it. Right. Well, then Marco Wilson gets called for it, and everybody knows it's a shoe toss. So then you have, I don't know if you remember when the two Florida players were blocking each other, and that was like number one on Sports Center's not top 10 for like an entire year. That same year, Florida State's own players were blocking each other. There are so many examples of players blocking each other because they just turned and hit somebody, which is what happened to us. Nobody remembers any of that, right? It's just the Florida, right? The two players on the field this weekend, I know at least two other teams who Kansas State had it on the field goal against Missouri, and ULM had it. Does anybody know about that? Nope. All you hear about is Florida because we did it on fucking national TV, right? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Our game literally got cut in the fourth quarter at the end. And all my friends were like, because our kicker came out and made a 52-yarder, and they're like, "Wow, I wish I could see it." And I was like, "Oh, you didn't miss much."
Speaking of games getting cut in the fourth quarter, did you watch the end of the Florida Tennessee game?
I did not. I was
Have you
at
seen
my
it?
phone was dead.
Have you seen what happened?
Oh yes, because I messaged FOS and I was like, "Why is everybody pissy?"
Who did they blame? They know that was Josh Heupel's fault, right?
They basically just sent me the video. They didn't say anything.
Fuck Josh Heupel. Fuck Omarion Thomas. Tennessee. Fuck y'all. Y'all are dirty. No good. You wear that ugly orange like that Alabama fan said in that video all those years ago. So Josh Heupel, instead of letting the game end, decides to call his final timeout with 9 seconds left. down 13 points. Because of that, we snap the ball and our QB kind of runs around for a little bit, kind of dances around trying to kill the 9 seconds before he takes a knee. Tennessee's player takes a cheap shot at him. Of course, what happens when a player hits your quarterback? The big dumb offensive linemen come over. We got Micah Mazuka throwing in a boxing stance, ready to throw hands. All of that could have been avoided had Josh Heupel not taken the completely unnecessary timeout to force an extra play to be run, right? Like literally, we ran the ball, the clock was running, there were 10 seconds left. Why did he stop the clock? Only to be a little bitch, right? Like only to be a little shithead. Then he starts a fight, and then I see all these people, oh, the coaches have the timeouts, you play to win the game, you never know what's going to happen.
And
The refs made them come back out on the field and run a final play. And you know what Tennessee did? Took a knee. They didn't throw a Hail Mary to the end zone to try and make it a little closer. Who knows? They came out and took a knee. So what was the point of calling that timeout? There's literally the only thing it accomplished was getting 3 of our players suspended for a fight they started. I'm writing a letter to Greg Sankey as we speak, demanding justice be served because this is ridiculous. Josh Heupel should be fined.
ULM called one down 43, 45, some shit, with 15 seconds left. You could see our sideline go, you fucking with me? Are you done?
Do they have the ball?
No.
See, fuck that. Just let the game end.
They had turned it over on downs, and they were like, timeout, and our guys are like, are you serious? Can I go home, please? Like this was 45-3 or whatever it was, 47-3. And I'm like, it's over. I did, however, I don't know if you saw my tweet. There was a guy in a Warhawk costume, like wings and all, with a sign that said David beat Goliath. And I said, I'm not sure if I'm worried that you think you're David and that you're that good, or you think that we're Goliath. Like, I'm concerned. I'm very concerned.
So, did you get the chance to watch any other interesting games this week?
I followed Alabama almost lose.
Man. And they were in like a rain delay for like the start of that, for like, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours for that game.
Yep.
And literally when they showed the score pop back up, I thought they were still in a rain delay because Alabama just hadn't scored. And I'm like, lightning, Florida weather, what can you do? And then it goes final, and it's like 17-3, and I'm like, oh my God.
Alabama, what are you doing?
I'm ready. Nick Saban's going to retire. The gatekeeper is going to ride off into the sunset, and other teams are going to have the chance to actually be good again.
And wouldn't that be nice? Texas,
man can dream.
What a concept. Let's see. Vanderbilt almost won. They almost did it.
Did they beat Wake Forest last week?
I don't. Let me look. Clicking. Let's see. I don't think so. No. 36-20. Nope.
Rough.
Ouch. So apparently SEC Nation is coming to College Station this weekend, even though Ole Miss and Alabama are playing.
Hey, I think that's gonna be an interesting game.
But like, why? What did we do to earn SEC Nation? Nothing. We lost our one game that mattered.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. I mean, I think Auburn's starting to get some love already this season, despite really not playing anybody. Like UMass, Cal, and Samford
play.
Like, it's kind of this is what I hate about preseason polls. Excuse me. I feel like preseason polls give the illusion that a team has actually beaten somebody because pollsters, like TCU, for example, not to keep harping on Colorado, but like TCU, I've heard Tennessee's overrated now that we've beaten them. Texas A&M's overrated now that Miami beat them. LSU's overrated because FSU beat. Like all of these teams that had a preseason ranking that are seemingly wrong now. Oh, they were overrated because of what it. No, they weren't overrated. You didn't have any information to base this off of except for what they did last year. Like, it's a completely different team this year. And I feel like voters will just be like, oh, well, I voted them top 5 to start the season. I got to keep them top 5, like, yeah, they look bad these past 3 games, but they're undefeated. And it's like, no, just start the polls like halfway through the year. Like, why do we need polls in week 1? I don't get it.
We don't. We don't. People just want to be able to say they're ranked. All of Texas. Their favorite thing to tell us that they're ranked and we're not. And I'm like, it's
Yeah,
so.
we were getting some of that. Thankfully, we snuck into the top 25 in the AP this week.
Yeah, I don't care, honestly. I just want to win. I could care less where we're at.
I feel like if y'all win this week, I think you'll come back into the rankings. Hey, 11-1 is still on the table, Shelby. Like, you have to remember, we're both 11-1 until we aren't.
If we pull off 11-1, either Miami's really good or DJ Durkin's not a fucking idiot.
I mean, I'm just saying, looking at your schedule, Arkansas is obviously beatable. Alabama looks very vulnerable. Tennessee, I think you guys can beat Tennessee. South Carolina's look bad. That Ole Miss game could be interesting, and the LSU game could be interesting. Like those two,
But
like
we should be undefeated. We should be like winning going into those games. So should be.
It's possible. I mean, I could see you guys rolling into Oxford or Baton Rouge with just the Miami loss. Like, I was wrong. I had Alabama going undefeated. I thought this was going to be Saban's bounce back swan song. This looks like Saban's right off into the sunset moment. Like, I was wrong. My preseason ranking was incorrect, and I am now adjusting my expectations. But I think that looking at your schedule, I mean, before the season started, it looked rough. Now, South Carolina, Tennessee, Bama, none of them look as good as I think many people thought before the season started. Ole Miss, Ole Miss started what 7-0, 8-0 last year, and then lost like their last 5 games. Ole Miss kind of tends to do that. They beat the Mercers and the Tulanes of the world, and then they get into that final home stretch and go 1-4. So I mean, 11-1 still on the table. I can definitely see an easier path to your prediction of 11-1 than after watching, or not watching, but looking through the stats of the BYU Arkansas game and hearing Sydney's kind of take on it as the game progressed. I feel like you guys have a better chance of going 11-1 than Arkansas does going 8-4.
I'd love. Okay, can we talk about the fact that Arkansas's kicker did the oink joink twice?
I didn't see it.
I shared the video in our group, but yeah, he Cam Little kicked a field goal and it went right off the top of the upright. And I was like, how do you do that twice?
Was it the same kicker?
Yep.
Oof.
Cam Little.
That's rough.
I'm like,
I see it. Well, thankfully, it wouldn't have mattered in the final of the game.
No, but
unlike the other one.
Well, it would have, but there was still time on the clock, like about 1.5 minutes, almost 2 minutes, when Arkansas kicked that field goal. So Yes, it would have tied the game, but it also they would have tied or they would have gone ahead by a couple. I don't remember. I have to go back and look, but it wouldn't have been over, you know.
Yeah.
So there's that. It just made it more fun. All right, let's look at this week.
Sorry, I'm watching the play. I'm focused. I'm focused now.
You ready?
Yeah, I had to watch Oink Doink 2.0.
Auburn and A&M. I've got my Ags. I feel comfortable in this. I feel like their quarterback is not as good as he thinks he is. And our defense, if we can provide pressure, so if DJ Durkin decides to draw up pressure, we'll be fine. If he decides to sit back and let Peyton Thorne do whatever the hell he wants, la Miami, we're fucked.
Yeah, Tyler Van Dyke's better than Peyton Thorne by a lot, though.
Well, yes, but like literally the two times that we dialed up pressure on Tyler Van Dyke, they went 3 and out. And I'm like, why aren't we doing this every play? If it works, why aren't we doing it?
So I said before the season that my boy Graham Mertz, you know, a lot of prognosticators thought that he was going to be the worst quarterback in the SEC. I said he's not even going to be the worst Big Ten transfer into the SEC this year, because that's going to go to Peyton Thorne, who is super duper mid, had one good year at shitty Michigan State. He's bad. I think the Aggies are going to run away with it. I think it's going to be like a 35-10 type game.
Ooh, sounds fun. I'll be there, so I would love that.
Nice.
I don't want to say this in case she's watching it, but an event is happening that I will talk about next week. An event
Interesting.
Saturday night that I'm going down for. So I'm going to the game just because I'm already going to be there.
It's exciting. So let's go to the next big one. Ole Miss and Bama.
Ole Miss.
Really? You're calling the upset?
I don't trust Bama right now.
I get it. I'm gonna go Bama. My Bama blinders are still on.
Why?
You know, everybody has bad games, and I think Jalen Milroe shouldn't have been benched. Like, do I think that he's good enough to get Bama where they want to be? No. Is he better than Tyler fucking Buchner?
And whoever else was playing?
Like, yeah. Is he better than Ty Simpson? Yeah. Like, neither of those guys can throw. Like, Jalen Milroe can't throw either, but at least he's fast as hell. Like, it's like Anthony Richardson last year. Like, we had 2 quarterbacks behind him who couldn't throw or run. Like, at least give me the guy that can throw it a mile and run super fast. Like, if the other guys can't do any of it, at least give me a guy that can do some of it. Like, you know, like Tyler Buchner just can't do any of it. Like, at least Jalen Milroe can escape the pocket and stuff. Like, yeah, I think that Milroe is going to have a pretty big bounce back game. I think Ole Miss's defense has been pretty suspect. Like even their game against, you know, like Tulane. I mean, Tulane put it on them with a backup quarterback. Like, they didn't even have Michael Pratt, who's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And Tulane just about pulled. Like, the Ole Miss got a scoop and score at the end of the game that makes it look like a blowout. But Ole Miss had to scrap in the fourth quarter. Like, Tulane was leading going into the fourth quarter. So I'm not entirely sold on Ole Miss. Like, that, I actually got to sit down and watch that game, and it was pretty enjoyable. I'm just not sold on them. I think Bama. I don't think Ole Miss can hang. Did you hear about the stuff with Lane Kiffin though?
No.
So there's an article on it on ESPN, but he's being sued by a player. Now this kid's still on scholarship. This is a bold strategy. This kid's still on scholarship, but essentially he says that Lane, the defensive line coach, came to him and told him, "Hey, you need to transfer because you're not going to be playing this year." And the kid didn't want to transfer. Well, then Lane Kiffin comes to him and says, "You need to transfer, or get off my team." Essentially, well, in 2015, the NCAA changed the rule to where in the P5 in Notre Dame, when you offer athletic scholarships for 4 years, it used to be year to year, and the coach had to choose to renew your scholarship every year. And that led to guys getting essentially cut and having their scholarship pulled for no reason. So it's now, if you do something bad, if you get in trouble, you break rules, whatever, yeah, they can take your scholarship. What?
So
Yeah, Denver Harris. Yes, Denver Harris. Chris Marshall. Smoke buoy. The list kind of goes on. But so basically they're just saying you're not good enough and we want you off the team. Well, the guy doesn't want to leave. I mean, he's like a senior at Ole Miss. He's about to graduate. So they move him from D-line to offensive line and make him play on the practice squad. Well, he's obviously unhappy about that. And he basically, his mom calls the trainer and says, like, hey, he's having like some pretty severe mental health issues. He needs some help. They get him in touch with a counselor. He goes to the counselor. He tells the counselor, like, I'm not ready to go back to football yet. Like, I feel like, they've emasculated me. They don't want me, this kind of thing. So he ghosts Kiffin, right? So finally, after a few weeks, he goes into Kiffin's office, and Kiffin basically berates him, calls him a pussy, tells him that he's off the team, that he's a piece of shit, all this stuff. Sorry for the language. This is all in the article. This is journalism, okay? This is journalism, all right? Those aren't my words. Those are his words. And so, the kid's like telling him, like, I had mental health issues, but yeah. So Kiffin tells him, like, he's like, I'm not saying you're making it up, but that's not an excuse to go rogue on your job. In the real world, they wouldn't take this. And I'm like, this dude's a kid. Like, this isn't his job. He's not an employee. Because what would happen, Lane Kiffin, if this were his job? HR would be on your ass because you don't get to talk to your employees that way. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so people are just like, well, this generation, they just need to toughen up. Everybody uses mental health as an excuse to give up their responsibilities.
Oh my God.
This is not how it works in the real world. And I'm like, in the real world, you get fucking sued. If you fire somebody that's on FMLA, or you fire somebody that's on an EAP, or you fire somebody who has documented their struggles to HR and tells HR they feel like they're being punished for having mental health issues, and then the boss turns around and fires them, what happens? Wrongful termination lawsuit. That's exactly what, yeah, OSHA is going to be on you. Your state labor law is going to be on you. There are laws and regulations in place to prevent employers from doing this to their employee. This kid is not an employee. I don't care if he's getting paid NIL. I don't care if he's getting a scholarship. He doesn't have a job offer. It is not a signed job. He is a student athlete. And when I see people on Twitter saying this, I'm just like, how? He's 21, 22. When I was in college, I wasn't some wild. I was a different person in college than I am now. I think most people are. You're young, you're dumb, you have freedom. This is your first taste of the world. You don't have the responsibilities of a job, but you have the responsibilities of school. Some people work. I understand that. Some people work right through college. A lot of people, it's part-time or whatever. He is not an employee. It's not the real world. The comparison ain't there. Fuck Lane Kiffin. That's my take.
And that's how I feel about that.
Yes. Look it up. Read the article if you get the chance. I know that it might be an unpopular opinion, but it is my opinion. So I'm the one with the mouthpiece, so I get to say my opinion.
Honestly, I've never liked Lane Kiffin, and as someone that severely struggles with mental health issues, no.
Yeah.
Just no.
Yep. I made the comment that a lot of the same people saying that he's faking it, needs to toughen up, he's soft, whatever. They're the same people that'll slap a "Stop Soldier Suicide" bumper sticker on their F
Yep.
150 and then turn around and call somebody soft for struggling. Like that's the world we live in, to where if you're on social media and dealing with something like that and you see all these people calling your struggle soft or calling your issues weakness, those are the same people that to the public will be out there trying to raise money for this cause, that cause, whatever. People don't know what that struggle's like until you've lived it, until you've seen somebody you love lived it, until you see somebody you know and love make the decision to end it. You don't know how this stuff goes down. And it's always, always better to err on the side of caution than to be an asshole. Let me get off my soapbox. I,
Honestly, and this is my opinion on it. And I got blocked on Twitter from multiple different Aggies who thought it was funny to tweet last season, well, the Aggies are my 13th reason why. And that's okay, two things. One, I'm not even allowed to watch that show per my therapist because I will literally have a meltdown.
ugh.
Two, that's not funny. Football should not be your, like, what you watching football should not push you to kill yourself. And if it does, get a new hobby.
Yeah.
It's not funny. People are actually struggling and you're out here being a douche rocket. Like, no. I'm sorry, but it's not funny.
Yeah, when Jameis Winston was at FSU, some Florida fans, and not just Florida fans, but a lot of rivals, would do the "no means no" chant, and it's like, there's certain things that we don't joke about those things, and
Rape,
it's kind of,
death, suicide. Like,
yeah,
no.
yeah. The internet, as always, provides people an outlet to share their shittiest opinions.
And even, I don't even think they believe some of this shit.
They don't. It's
Honestly.
shock value. Like it. I now we number one, we've gone so far off course, but I'm loving the discourse here. Um, w- I feel like we've just spiraled downward to where it's like a race to the bottom to see who can be the biggest piece of shit. And it's like every day the bar gets lower and lower, and somebody comes along and just keeps like knocking it down, and it's like, at what point do we finally stop pretending that we have to defend free speech for you to say terrible, awful, shitty things? Like, free speech means the government doesn't come and arrest you for being a piece of shit and saying something. It doesn't protect you from libel. It doesn't protect you from slander. And it doesn't protect you from getting punched in the fucking mouth. And like, people act like because they're on Twitter, they can say whatever they want. Like they go for such low blows to people. Like, I'm not even on Twitter. Like, I was like 10 years ago when I was a youngster. Nowadays, I just stick to browsing. I don't even post anymore. But Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, I mean, social media, YouTube comments, it's just like, who can say the most outlandish stuff? And we need to be a beacon of light in a room full of darkness, Shelby. Like, that's what we need to strive for with our podcast here.
Honestly, and this cracks me up because, like, I'm in a group chat with a bunch of guys, not FOS, but about Aggie recruiting and stuff. And these men literally hang their emotions on the decisions of 18-year-old boys.
Dude,
And I'm like,
I'm on
grow up.
I'm on a Gators message board, and it's the same way. Like, it's like a bunch of grown ass dudes who, like, we had dudes who wanted to fire half of our football staff last April, as in 4 months after before they had ever coached the game, because they didn't get recruits. And the recruits couldn't even sign their letter of intent for another 8 months. And people were literally just saying this, it's over, they're cooked. And then for the next 8 months, it's just the same folks having these meltdowns, and you're just like, how? Like, how is this? You're paying money to be miserable.
Get
Like,
over it.
find something else to do. Like, I am one of the most optimistic Florida fans you will ever meet. Like, I watch the games. I never get during the games. Like my this past weekend was probably. Oh, we got our loyal fan Adrian. What's up, dude? This past weekend was probably the most hype I've been for a Florida game
Y'all
since.
should have seen the messages we got.
I around the fourth quarter,
Sydney and I were having it.
yeah, I was in a special mood. Let's just put it that way. I was like, the drinks were flowing, the times were being had. It was just a glorious, glorious time.
I had a
But
legit soft pretzel from my 50-yard line seats. I was a happy camper.
I'm pretty jealous of your seats. I'm not gonna lie.
Honestly, I walked out and I was like, "What?"
Oh, I gotta keep it PG. I don't know if I can. Like, I know what's funny is the only person I've talked to about my podcast at work is my HR representative. And so I hope that I'm not breaking any HR rules by cussing. I don't think I am because my people cuss in meetings. So I'm going to say no. My last job, my current job's not too bad. You might get a couple of minor cuss words. My last job, my manager would just drop the F bomb. Like, he would just say all kinds of stuff. I mean, it worked for me. It felt like I was in the military.
I'm watching.
Speaking of F words, let's talk Florida versus Charlotte. Who you got,
do we need
Shelby?
to talk about this one?
Hey, we talked about ULM.
You just gotta skip Arkansas and LSU and go straight to Florida Charlotte.
This is what happens when Sydney is too sick to participate. We jump the line. We go to what we want to talk about. If Sydney were here, I would give her unlimited time to discuss the Aggies or the Piggies, the Piggies versus the Tigers.
The Tigers are going to beat the Piggies. It's not going to be pretty. Okay,
I'm going to be honest. After R.I.P. Sydney, she'll be back next week. After
A&M Arkansas week.
After seeing what LSU did with Mississippi State and seeing what Arkansas did, struggling with BYU and losing, I don't know if the Arkansas LSU game is going to be particularly close.
It's going to be glorious.
All right. So, is Arkansas that big of a rival?
No, I just like people losing that I don't like. They're just annoying. I
hope Sydney's not watching this.
No, see, I like Sydney. I don't like the drunk frat boys that associate themselves with Arkansas.
Interesting.
Literally, was it 2 years ago when they won, or 3 years ago? So I think it was 2 years ago. They were obnoxious. They were like, "We knew we were better than you." And I said, "Honey, it's been like 10 years. It's been literally a decade. Like, even a blind squirrel finds a nut."
So my theory, and I know some Woo Pigs sueyers might disagree. I think that this is the beginning of, like, I had
other SEC, like Florida.
I'm not a frat boy. I might get drunk, but I'm not a frat dude. I'm mostly on the straight and narrow. But Saturday nights, it's football day. Sometimes you got to drink a few brewskis. Brewskis, yeah.
Literally, Saturday at the ULM game, there was a guy in front of me that I swear he was drunk as hell. And I was like, dude. And then they let him walk downstairs to get a snack by himself. And he's like looking around like this, and I'm like, he is not okay. Guys, he is not okay. And they're like, nah, he's fine. And I was like, okay. All right. But for the question, no, I just don't like drunk frat boys in general.
No, I feel that.
Annoying. But I also have severe social anxiety. So like we were walking through tailgates and we were like by where the frat tailgates are. And I was like, I don't see this as appealing. It's a bunch of drunk, sweaty people in a tent grinding on each other. I don't understand what is appealing about this.
I don't get it either.
Like, congratulations, you got to take a picture in front of the frat letters. Like, what is that? Why do we care?
It's like when the frats put out like stuff for recruits. I don't know if A&M does that, but like at Florida, the fraternities will hang like banners for like recruits that are visiting or whatever, and people will take pictures in front of it. It's like, you're not even in that frat. Like, who cares? Like, why? I personally don't get the fraternity sorority thing.
I was in a sorority, but that was just because I wanted to have girlfriends because I had never had friends that were girls very often. So I wanted to have friends that were girls, and it worked.
I guess, like, I mean, that makes sense. You know, the brotherhood and sisterhood aspect of it. I get it. To me, it just wasn't my cup of tea. I had some good friends that were in fraternities.
Boom, boom. I want to go 80 pie. Boom, boom. Okay. Anyway, I did my thing. I called it a day. Let's see. I'm trying to find games that matter. Mississippi State and South Carolina. Please let South Carolina have this.
Yeah, I mean, Mississippi State kind of got dismantled, honestly.
It's because Will Rogers is not good.
You don't have to convince me. I've never understood the Will Rogers hype. It's like, he's playing in an I know they've changed offense this year, but he's playing in an air raid. He throws the ball 800 times a season. And then when he leads the SEC in every passing category, people are just like, wow, he is the best quarterback. He's not. Like, now that he doesn't just get to go out and run air raids and throw it 5 yards down the field every time, like Graham Mertz, like he like, now that he's not in that offense, he's not doing well because that offense is designed to make quarterbacks look insane. Like, that's what it does. You don't need to be a great quarterback to run that offense. I think Mississippi State goes down. I think that much like Arkansas, I think that this next stretch is going to get a little ugly for them.
I don't even know who Mississippi State plays. I'd have to look.
They play South Carolina.
Well, I'm saying like down the stretch.
Oh, they play Bama and then Western Michigan, and then they get a bye. So they get a little bit of time to recuperate. But then they hit Arkansas, Auburn, Kentucky, A&M, Southern Miss, Ole Miss. So, like, it's pretty conceivable that, yeah, like they lost to Arizona. They're probably going to lose to LSU. Or they've already lost to LSU. They're probably going to lose to South Carolina. Then they play Bama. So that's going to be like a 4-game stretch right there. You probably go 0-4, through the first 5 weeks of the season. That's pretty rough. Probably beat Western Michigan. You get your bye. And then you have Arkansas, Auburn, Kentucky, A&M. Like, are any of those teams substantially better than Mississippi State? Probably not. But are they all good enough to beat Mississippi State?
I'd like to be substantially better than the Cowbells. Thank you.
I don't really understand why Zach Arnett decided to change the offense.
Because he's an idiot.
we dealt with the same thing after Urban left, to where we had all of these spread offense dudes like on the offensive line. So they're like, 290, right? Like they're smaller, quicker offensive linemen that can get out in space and block. Well, then Will Muschamp says, "Oh, I'm going to run it. I'm going to run it a bunch." And then he decides to basically gut the entire roster. Who, and it's not like this roster needed gutting, right? Like Will Muschamp inherited the best recruiting class of all time for 12 years until your Aggies took that title. There were first rounders all across the recruiting class. Urban Meyer had thoroughly stocked that cabinet, right? There was no reason to come in and reinvent the wheel. And Will Muschamp surely did that. And I feel like Zach Arnett, while the situation is different, that entire roster had been recruited and developed for the air raid. And then you come in and say, no, we're going to run a pro style.
Like what? Why?
Why? None of your players are ready for that. Like, you do it gradually. I don't know. I think that's going to be, maybe in a few years. And Mississippi State's probably one of those places that he gets enough time. Like A&M, Florida, LSU, Bama, Auburn. You come in and I know Billy Napier's had a rough year. You get a couple of years, right? But if he goes 3-9 in year one, that's a different story. And Zach Arnett has a chance to go 3-9 this year. And Mississippi State's probably the only place in the SEC, maybe besides Vandy, to where you can go 3-9 and not be on like a scorching hot seat. Arnett could probably go 3-9 2 years in a row before he starts to feel the heat. That's my take, at least. I mean, I know that they fired what was his name? The guy before Mike Leach.
Nick, no, that was the quarterback's name.
He was the offensive coordinator at Oregon.
I almost said Nick Fitzgerald, and that was the quarterback's name.
Joe Moorhead was his
you.
name. Yeah, Joe Moorhead had to ponder on that one for a minute. Yeah, they fired him after 2 years.
I was so proud of myself, and then I was wrong.
Nick Fitzgerald was, that was QB guru Dan Mullen. That was his greatest work.
Okay, so this is whenever you talk about inheriting things, I think of what Kevin Sumlin inherited when he became coach. Like, he inherited a bunch of first rounders. A bunch. And he literally just let Johnny do what Johnny wanted to do. Because Johnny wasn't going to listen to Kevin Sumlin anyway.
I mean, that's basically FSU's offense this year. Like, not saying that Jordan Travis doesn't listen to Mike Norvell, but if you watch their games are a lot of Jordan Travis just running around the backfield, doing pirouettes, and just hoping that eventually some receiver gets open, and then there's a busted play for 60 yards. Like, and I mean, that's what got them in trouble this past weekend against Boston College. Like, Boston, I'm sorry. This goes back to the Colorado State thing. FSU beating Boston College by 2 points is a loss. If you're a 30-point favorite over a team and you beat them by 2 points, you lost. Like, that's why they dropped in the rankings. Those warts that have been on that team are still there in terms of their offensive philosophy of let's just hit huge chunk plays every chance we get. Okay, well, when teams like NC State and Clemson and Wake Forest set on it last year and didn't let you get those plays, what happened? They scored like 17 points. We saw it this past weekend with Boston College, to where Jordan Travis hurt both of his shoulders, and without Jordan Travis, they didn't score anything. They couldn't move the ball, and they damn near lost that game. Goes back to the preseason rankings. They're I hate FSU. But that was basically what Kevin Sumlin did with Johnny Manziel. It's like, dude, I can't control this. Like, whatever you got, it works. Go and make it happen. And
watch his documentary?
No. Did you watch Swamp Kings?
No, I haven't gotten to yet.
There you go. When you watch Swamp Kings, I'll watch the Johnny Manziel documentary.
Okay. No, I want to watch Swamp Kings. Is the difference.
I want to watch his too. I got cooking shows that the wife has to watch. I got cartoons the kids have to watch. We were watching the Westminster Kennel Club dog show earlier. Like, this is high priority television that I have to work my
I
way through.
watch Halloween Baking Championship every week.
I turned that on, but I didn't actually watch it.
It was fun. It's fun. But no, Johnny, like, if you watch, Cliff Kingsbury literally enabled him and basically said, "Oh, you got drunk? You're hungover? Okay, you still have to work. Okay, that's fine." Like, you still, like, he knew that he was partying. He knew that he was doing whatever the fuck he wanted. And he was just okay with it. And I was like, all right. So we just literally, and you sit there because he tried to run his offense, the Florida game, that first game,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't work. And then the next game, he let Johnny do what Johnny was going to do, and we won. And we didn't lose again till LSU. So we sit back and you're like, had we gotten to play Louisiana Tech first, like we were supposed to, would things be different? Would we have a national title?
No.
No.
Was that 2012?
Mm-hmm. Beat Bama, lost to Florida and LSU.
Let me look at the
We
outcomes.
could have beaten Florida had they let Johnny do what Johnny wanted to do. And then even if you don't, you probably beat LSU. And you have one loss. And you're
Hey, hold on. Let me rewind this real quick. What happened the week before y'all played LSU? I need you to walk me through this 59-57 game against Louisiana Tech.
Let me tell you about that adventure. I don't remember, honestly. Yes, it is wishful, but I like to live in my fantasy.
You know, I had to pull this one up, and that one sticks out.
Yeah, that was a defense couldn't hack anything that day.
59-50. I mean, congrats on the dub. I'm so like, I'm sorry. I was like, I remember y'all being really good that year, and I remember us beating you, and like, you know, that was sort of that was our good year under Muschamp, and Johnny Manziel balled out. I remember all that stuff. I did not expect to see the 59 to like. it just threw me off. I'm sorry. I don't even know what to say right now.
Oh my god! No, I remember. This is what I remember. Is him running down the field and the announcers going, "Johnny Football, it's a night to remember." Because literally, and I think that's where the meme came from. It was either that or the Mississippi State game. I think it was either that or Mississippi State that he would score, and then he'd turn around and the other team would be already scoring. He's like, "Fuck! God damn it!"
I mean, y'all gave up the most y'all gave up besides that game's 29 points. So your defense wasn't bad. I mean,
we can't have a great defense and a great offense. The Aggies can't do it.
I try. As someone who is a Florida fan who went through Will Muschamp and Jim McElwain, I completely understand. We had great defenses and horrid offenses, and then Dan Mullen comes in, yay, and then our defense is like, you know what, I'm out. Actually, good luck. You know, later, you were a top 10 defense. Now you're a top 80 defense. Good luck scoring all those points.
Look at all the 5 stars on our defense.
Overrated.
Are they, or is DJ Dirk an idiot?
I mean, you had a good defense last year. It's not like you just forgot how to coach.
Did we though? And how many of those guys were seniors that weren't coached under DJ?
I thought the whole reason why you were all excited for this year because of all the freshmen you had. All the young dudes you had playing.
But I still think we should have left DJ Durkin on the tarmac in Miami.
I mean, I can't argue with that.
Guy's an idiot. And an asshole.
That he is. That he is.
Okay, there are guys on the A&M threads saying we should get Mel Tucker, and I'm like, are you serious?
Everybody's going to want Mel Tucker.
No, I don't want him. I don't want that problem. Also, somebody said A&M should go after Deion Sanders because look at all what we have compared to Colorado. And I said, literally everything you love about A&M will go away. All the
Yeah,
pageantry, all the tradition, no, he won't do it.
everybody is all aboard the Deion Sanders train.
I'm not.
I mean, I'm not. Not everybody. Everybody may not be the correct word. I'm just more of wait and see before crowning him. It's like the Denny Green quote: "If you want to crown their asses." But that's how it feels right now. To where, um, it's like, let's wait till the season's over. Let's see how the season goes. Maybe he goes 12-0. I don't know. And then I would have no problem calling him the greatest coach in college football right now. Like if he took Colorado and went 12-0, that's some magic right there. Let's wait until after he plays a Pac-12 team. Like let's wait until the season ends because if they go 4-8, 3-9,
wouldn't that be
yeah,
something they lose every other game after this?
they're 21-point underdogs to Oregon. Like
Oh, that's gonna be
it's.
beautiful.
I looked it up in like statistical modelings. They're like the 75th best team in the country, but they're ranked like number 15. Yeah, so it's kind of like, okay, like, yeah, this every year we have this hyped up team, and then it's kind of just most of the time it's like people are waiting for them to fail, which not saying I'm not here, but this time it's like I can't remember another example of a P5 top 25 team struggling against a G5 0-win team and it not being universally condemned. Like, imagine if A&M or Florida or Bam, like look at what Bama's doing with the USF game. Thank you, Adrian. That's what I just said. Look at FSU; they suck. FSU is going to go 8-4 this year. Starting this weekend, the FSU and Colorado hype is going to be crickets. Chirp, 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 chirp. All right, let's run through these games. We've been here for an hour.
We got most of them.
Let's see. Charlotte, Georgia's going to beat UAB. Tennessee, I don't know. After what I saw this past weekend,
them Roadrunners,
you can't underestimate them. Memphis, that's going to be an interesting game. I think Memphis is going to give Mizzou a little bit of a hard time.
What's Memphis's record right now? Let's see. Memphis is 3-0.
I'm just saying it's kind of BS that Mizzou basically they don't have to go outside of the state until next week.
Can we talk about Oklahoma State for a second? Even though that SEC, I just wanted to laugh. Did you not
miss?
What happened?
Oh, they lost.
South Alabama.
Yeah. South Alabama ain't no joke. I know a guy. I don't know him. I know his wife. I know his wife. I went to high school with his wife, and he's like a tight ends coach or something for South Alabama. It's a cattail. Saw a cattail there, or a cat butt. And
there you go, friends. Cat.
Fat cat.
Fat cat. Okay. Anyway.
And they're pretty close to me, so I kind of root for South Alabama. They almost got UCLA in Westwood last year.
Oh, Adrian's thinking. Our one watcher.
Hey, we're a podcast. Any additional viewership, it's always appreciated.
What are we waiting for, Adrian? I'm waiting.
I know. I'm waiting with bated breath.
I'm on the edge of my seat. Except I'm not. So. Because I'm not moving to the edge of my seat.
So, let's see. Kentucky at Vanderbilt. We missed that one.
That would be fun. If Vandy wins that game, I'd be so proud of them. He said nothing go on. Now I'm upset.
The bamboozle.
I'm upset, Adrian.
The bamboozle. Yeah, I think Kentucky wins this game. I don't. Number one, let me just say, I hate the fact that you can't even look at SEC statistics right now because stupid Vanderbilt has played an extra game over everybody. And so it's like when you look at the stats, Vandy's players lead the SEC in like every stat because they've played an extra game.
Yep.
And so it's like you look and you're like, wow, AJ Swan is leading the SEC in passing yards. That's crazy. And then you realize that he's literally played an entire 60-minute game more than everybody else. And you're like, oh, well, why isn't that accounted for here?
That'll do it. Should be
That'll
averages.
Do what?
So it should be averages.
Yeah, you can get averages, but like I'm looking at like the ESPN.
Whose defense is poop? Mine, I know.
Not mine. For the first time in a long time.
I'm the problem. It's me.
I am so happy about our defense. Like that was one of the reasons why I was so hype. Yeah, their defense is poop, but
Vandy, yes.
That was one of the reasons why I was so hype for the Tennessee game. Is that this is the first time since 2019 that I didn't absolutely dread the defense being on the field. Like literally half of the game for the past 3 or 4 years, I've just been like, oh my God, are we actually going to be able to stop them at any point? Like now when the defense comes out, I'm like, okay, we're not elite. We're not there yet. Like we have some gaps. But the fundamental aspect of taking angles, not missing tackles, maintaining the edge on run plays, like just this simple crap that I've watched our players screw up for the past 4 years, we're not doing it right now. So I'm kind of like, all right, coach, I see you, Coach Hambino.
Doing it. So proud.
I am. I'm proud of my boy, 30-year-old defensive coordinator.
I'm looking at A&M statistics because I got real upset with people on Twitter. Like, where is Walter Nolan? Why isn't Walter Nolan good? And I'm like, he is good. Did y'all not watch any of our games? Number 0 lost like 40 pounds. It looks great. Still a menacing looking human being. Absolutely menacing looking.
Yeah, we're like top 10 defense, so I'm here for it.
I'm gonna fight some people for these guys.
I feel you.
Like I may fight someone for Evan Stewart, who is not transferring to Florida. So
yet.
That's all you want.
Okay, hold on. Time out. Okay, Adrian. Number one, you're partially correct. The very first thing you said is completely incorrect. The second part is partially correct because our secondary was super weak. But yes, our inability to get off the field on third down absolutely crushed our defense last year. So I do agree with that part. Like that, it's hard. It's hard for a defense to ever be competitive if you can't get off the field, and that happened to us. We were one of like 3 teams in the country to have like a third down conversion rate above 50%. Think about that, Shelby. Over half of the time we got a team to third down, we let them convert, and that doesn't even take into account fourth down, where teams would also go for it. Miserable times. But that's all in the past now.
All I know is that I enjoyed the fact that ULM averages 95 passing yards in a game, which is really bad for them. They had 95 in the first half. They had 95 in total at the end of the game.
That's pretty good. That's a good stat.
So that second half, A+. Now, if we could do that,
how you start, it's how you finish.
If we could do that against Auburn, that'd be cool. If we could hold Auburn to 95 passing yards, it'll be a win.
I mean, Robbie Ashford never makes an appearance, and it's possible.
What's the big?
Upset alert game of the week.
Let's look. Okay. Well, if you're counting, phone is playing. My computer's playing a video that I didn't ask it to do. Heard that. The biggest upset of the week. Does Auburn over? Is A&M over Auburn count? That's Auburn's
No.
undefeated.
I say for it to be an upset, I think we got to go top 25. One of the teams has to be ranked. Really?
Calling it.
Okay.
Alabama.
All right. I'm going Clemson over FSU if we're going strictly off of ranking.
No, you're an SEC one.
Okay, if it's that's overall. If we're going just within the SEC, then I would go with. I'm gonna go with Vandy over Kentucky if I had to pick one.
Ooh, I like it.
They are a fake 3-0 team. But yeah, so if I had to go one, I'm going to go Vandy over Kentucky. I don't think it's going to happen. Let me see what the spread is.
I like. Yeah.
I don't care about basketball right now.
Oh, we all care about basketball right now. What are you talking about?
I love basketball, but it's football season.
So
it looks like the spread is 13.5. I think Vandy covers the 13.5. If they don't win outright.
Get all up in my mentions because I retweeted the baseball schedule that was released. And they're like, you're trying to whatchamacallit, hype up your baseball team because your football team is ass. And I said, no, just retweeting information. No.
So let's do a quick rundown nationally. Just since I have the schedule pulled up. So ranked matchups that we have this week. Looks like on Friday we get a little. So we got some shitty football Thursday, as I like to call it in college. Georgia State at Coastal Carolina. Don't care, but it's football.
I love Coastal Carolina.
The Chanticleers.
At least in baseball.
I'm
trying to find my upset alert. I'm still picking. Who does Texas play?
I think there's some good
Baylor over
here.
Texas. That's
Baylor over Texas. That's chaos right there. I'm here for it. So I mean, I got FSU on upset alert. Unsurprisingly, I don't know if Cam Rising's going to be in the Utah game, but I would put Utah on upset alert against UCLA.
Yes, Auburn is poop. Okay.
Let's see.
We are like something tonight.
Yeah. I don't know if Ohio State counts, but I think Notre Dame can upset them. And I can see Iowa upsetting Penn State.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to sound stupid.
That's pretty much it.
Our friend Jay is going to the Penn State game, so I hope for his sake that they win. Because it's never fun to go to a non-winning game. So.
All right. Well, friends, Adrian.
Adrian.
It was good chatting. Like and subscribe. Do all the things. Press all the buttons. And we will catch y'all next time.
Sydney will hopefully be back next week because it's A&M Archie week. Eggs and bacon.
Maybe we can get some of our other South Carolina, Tennessee folks to join us for the Tennessee-South Carolina game.
Ooh, I'll ask game day.
Yep.
He's working, so we may not be able to, but I'll ask him.
All right. Stay tuned. Bye, guys.